Your mother stood at the front door with one hand on your collar and the other on your chin, and she turned your face toward the morning light, and she looked at you, really looked, the way only a black mother could look at a black daughter in 1957. She checked your ears, she checked the white of your fingernails, she tucked a stray hair behind your ear, and then she said the same 5 words she said every morning of your childhood. You can go now, baby. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment, letting me know where you are watching from. You did not understand it then. You were 8 years old, and you thought she was just fussing. You thought every mama in America did this. You did not know that your white friend Linda's mother did not check her ears. You did not know that your white friend Linda's mother did not iron her socks. You did not know that what your mother was doing on that porch every weekday morning of your childhood was not fussing. It was armor. It was love shaped like armor, and she was sending you out into a country that was going to look at you twice as hard and judge you twice as fast. And she was making sure that when they looked, they could not find one single thing. That was the rule. Nobody in your house ever spoke it out loud because nobody had to. You knew it the way you knew the smell of grits in the morning. You knew it the way you knew the way the front door swelled in summer and stuck in the frame, and you had to push it twice with your hip. You did not leave the house looking like nobody cared about you. Not once. Not for any reason. Not even to walk down to the corner store to get a quart of milk. You did not leave the house in a wrinkled blouse. You did not leave the house with dirt under your fingernails. You did not leave the house without your hair pressed and pinned and your ears checked and a clean handkerchief folded in your skirt pocket. You did not leave the house unless you were the kind of girl your mother could send into the world without shame. That was 1957. That was the air of every black household in America. That was the rule that nobody wrote down because nobody had to. Saturday night was bath night, always Saturday, the whole week built toward that bathtub. Your mother filled it from the tap slowly because the hot water heater was small, and if she filled it too fast, there would not be enough left for your father to wash up after. She slid a bar of Octagon laundry soap onto the side of the tub for her own back, and a bar of ivory for you, and a square of cotton washcloth folded into a perfect rectangle on the porcelain rim. The bathroom smelled like ivory, and the heat from the radiator, and the steam coming off the water, and the faint vanilla of the cashmere bouquet talc that sat in its powder pink tin on the shelf above the toilet, waiting for you to climb out clean. She washed your back with the washcloth and the ivory, and her hand was steady and slow, and you sat in the warm water with your eyes closed, and her hand moved across your shoulders and down your spine, and she did not say a word. She did not have to. The bath was the lesson. The bath was the inheritance. She was teaching you, without one single word, that this is what a black girl does on a Saturday night. She washes, she gets ready, she prepares. You stepped out and she wrapped you in a towel and she patted you dry, never rubbed. Because rubbing was for white people who did not know any better, and black skin needed gentleness. She lifted the lid of the cashmere bouquet tin. The smell of it came up off the powder like a promise. She tapped the puff against the inside of the tin, and she pressed it to the back of your neck and to the inside of your elbows and to the soft skin behind your knees. The white cloud of it settled on your skin and stayed there until morning. The smell of cashmere bouquet is the smell of every Saturday night of your childhood, and you can still smell it now, sitting in your kitchen 60 years later, if you close your eyes. Sunday morning was the ceremony. She woke you up at 5:30 in the morning. The light was the color of weak tea. The house was quiet. Your father was making coffee in the kitchen. Your sister was already at the bathroom sink with a tin of Vaseline open in front of her, working a fingertip of it onto her eyelashes. Your mother sat you down on the wooden chair in her bedroom, and she did your hair, the royal crown grease, the hot comb on the stove in the kitchen, the press, the scarf, the walk back into the bedroom with your hair laid against your scalp like patent leather, and then the dressing. Every piece of clothing you put on that Sunday morning had been ironed, the slip, the cotton ankle socks, even the underpants, because your mother believed that ironing killed bacteria and that a black girl walked into the AME church with everything sterile. She had ironed them all on Friday night with the cast iron heated on the stove, sprinkling water from a Coca-Cola bottle with holes punched in the cap. The Sunday dress had been ironed twice. The white cotton gloves had been hand-washed and laid flat on the back porch to dry and pressed lightly with a warm iron before being folded into your gloved pocket of the Pew Bible. Yes, your Pew Bible had a glove pocket. Your mother's mother had sewn it in herself. You sat on the edge of the bed in your slip and watched her finish her own face. The pawns came out, the cashmere bouquet again, this time on her chest and her wrists and the back of her neck, the single tube of red lipstick. She put a folded handkerchief inside her glove. She put a second folded handkerchief inside her purse. She had been carrying 2 handkerchiefs every day of her adult life because her own mother had carried 2 handkerchiefs every day of her adult life. One for you, one for someone who needs it more than you do. That was the rule. She walked you to the front door at 7:45. She put her hand on your collar. She put her thumb under your chin, and she tilted your face up to the morning light. And she did the inspection, the ears, the fingernails, the teeth, the corner of the eye where sleep crusts sometimes hid, the neckline of the dress, the hem of the dress, the shoes, the white gloves, the handkerchief in the glove, the hair under the ribbon itself. And then she said the words she said every Sunday of your childhood. You can go now, baby. You did not understand what you were doing. You did not understand that you were walking out of that house as a representative. You were walking out as a representative of your mother, as a representative of your grandmother, as a representative of every black woman in your street and every black woman in your church and every black woman in America. You were 8. You did not know that. You just knew you were going to church and you had on your white gloves, and the lipstick on your mother's lips smelled like wax and roses, and her gloved hand was around yours, and you walked down the front steps together, and the sun came up over the row of houses, and you smelled like cashmere bouquet and royal crown and ivory soap, and you knew without anybody telling you that this was who you were supposed to be. The Listerine came out on Monday morning before school. Brown bottle, yellow label. The smell of it would make a grown man cry. Your mother poured a capful into a glass and handed it to you, and you swirled it for 30 seconds while she pinned your collar straight. It burned. It burned every time. You spit it into the sink and you opened your mouth, and your mother bent down and she inspected your tongue. She inspected your teeth. She checked the corner of your lips for dried toothpaste from the Arm & Hammer baking soda paste you had brushed with 5 minutes earlier. She nodded once. You were clean. You could leave for school. The Mum Cream deodorant sat in a glass pot on the bathroom shelf. Mum was white. Mum was thick. Mum smelled like talc and a hint of something floral that did not exist anywhere else in the world. You opened the lid and you took a fingertip of it and you worked it into the skin under your arms in slow circles, just like she had shown you. Slow, thorough. You did not rush this. You were going to be sitting in a classroom for 6 hours next to a white girl whose mother had not taught her any of this, and you would not be the black girl who smelled, not on your mother's watch. The white gloves were for the bus, always. From the day you started kindergarten to the day you turned 18 and went off to college, you wore white cotton gloves on the city bus. Your mother bought them 6 pairs at a time from the notions counter at the dime store and washed them every Saturday afternoon by hand in the kitchen sink with a bar of ivory, and laid them flat to dry on a clean dish towel on the kitchen table. The white gloves were not vanity. The white gloves were a barrier between your hand and the metal pole on the bus, between your skin and what you might touch in a downtown department store, where the salesgirl would refuse to take your money if she could see one speck of anything on your fingers. The gloves said, "You cannot touch me with your judgment. I am ready for the world." You did not understand any of this when you were 8. You thought white gloves were just what girls wore. You thought baby powder under the arms was just what people did. You thought the inspection on the front porch was just how mothers said goodbye. You did not know that every gesture in your mother's morning routine had been built, brick by brick, over 100 years of Black women who had walked out their front doors into a country that was watching for any reason to call them unclean. You did not know that the cashmere bouquet talc and the mum deodorant and the white gloves and the ironed underwear and the inspected fingernails were not vanity. They were resistance. They were a refusal to give the world even 1 inch of what it was looking for. Your mother carried a handkerchief that had been ironed by her own mother in 1932. It was folded into a perfect square. It smelled like cedar from the dresser drawer where it had lived for 25 years. It had been used twice, once at her own wedding to dab her own mother's eyes, and once at her own mother's funeral. After that, it lived in her purse, and she carried it every day for the rest of her life, and she did not use it again. It was not for using, it was for carrying. It was a piece of her mother in her pocket every day of her life, and she had taught you, without saying a word, that this is what Black women do. We carry the women who came before us. We carry them in our pockets. We carry them in our gloves. We carry them in the Sunday best lipstick and the pressed handkerchief and the smell of cashmere bouquet on the back of the neck. Then the 70s came, the 80s. Black is beautiful, the afro, the freedom to walk out of your front door in jeans and a t-shirt without your mother checking your fingernails, the freedom to skip the white gloves and the ironed slip and the cashmere bouquet talc and the mum cream deodorant in a glass pot. And that freedom was good. That freedom was earned. Your mother had walked through Jim Crow and Bull Connor and the back of the bus, and she had wanted that freedom for you. She would have wanted you to throw away the gloves, but she also wanted you to remember the lesson underneath the gloves. The lesson was not the gloves. The lesson was the love. The lesson was a Black mother on a front porch with her hand on her daughter's collar, saying, "I am sending you into a world that will not protect you, and so I am wrapping you in everything I have. Every iron, every powder, every fingernail check, every drop of Listerine, every folded handkerchief, every white glove, every Saturday night bath, and every Sunday morning inspection. I am wrapping you in armor, and the armor is love." Your daughter never had that. She had pediatricians and sun protection factor and gentle parenting articles. She had a mother who said, "Be yourself." And she had a grandmother who was too tired to do the inspection on the front porch anymore. The chain did not break all at once. It frayed. It frayed in the 80s when nobody had time for ironed underwear. It frayed in the 90s when cashmere bouquet stopped being sold in Black neighborhoods because Colgate stopped making the small tins. It frayed in the 2000s when the white gloves went out of style and into the costume box. It frayed in the 2010s when your granddaughter walked out of her house in pajama pants to go to the grocery store and nobody stopped her. But you remember the smell of cashmere bouquet on your mother's neck when she bent down to kiss you goodnight. You remember the burn of Listerine in the morning. You remember the white gloves stiff with starch. You remember her hand on your collar and her thumb under your chin and the morning light on her face when she tilted you up to look at you and the words she said before she sent you into the world. You remember all of it. And the world they are walking into now is not gentler. It is louder. It is meaner in different ways. It is full of cameras and judgment and silent comparison and 1,000 voices telling young black girls that they are not enough. Maybe a little inspection on the front porch would not hurt anybody, maybe a hand on the collar and a thumb under the chin, and a soft voice saying, "You can go now," baby would do more good than every parenting podcast in America put together. You can buy a tin of vintage cashmere bouquet on the internet. You can find mum cream deodorant on collector sites. You can find white cotton gloves at the dime store if there is still a dime store in your town. You can iron your granddaughter's Sunday dress on a Saturday afternoon, and you can teach her to fold a handkerchief into a perfect square and tuck it inside her glove. You can stand her in front of the mirror, and you can put your hand on her collar and your thumb under her chin, and you can tilt her face up to the morning light, and you can give her the inspection, the ears, the fingernails, the teeth, the hem of the dress. And then you can say the same 5 words your mother said to you on a porch in 1957. You can go now, baby. She will not understand what you are doing. She will think you are just fussing. She will think every grandmother does this. And then one day when she is 65 and her own granddaughter is standing in front of her in a Sunday dress, on a morning in 2080, she will put her hand on that little girl's collar and her thumb under that little girl's chin, and she will tilt her face up to the light, and she will remember. She will remember the smell of the cashmere bouquet. She will remember the burn of the Listerine. She will remember the white gloves stiff with starch. She will remember her grandmother's hand on her collar and her grandmother's voice saying the words, and the chain will still be there, held by the women who refuse to forget that love sometimes looks like an inspection on a front porch on a Sunday morning in America. Did your mama check your ears before church? Was it cashmere bouquet or sweet Georgia brown on your grandma's vanity? Did she iron your underwear? Tell me what she said when she sent you out the front door. Tell me what she carried in her pocket.